name's Joan Loricella. I'm the Family Support Worker at Health Ability, and today I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about how we can talk with our children about challenging situations. Obviously, we're in a challenging situation right now with the coronavirus, so it's a good time for us to have this conversation about how we can have conversations with our children. I think it's pretty obvious that having conversations or talking with our children is of the utmost importance. Obviously, a lot of our relationship and how good our relationship is will be dependent on our communication with our children. So I'm hoping that today in this video, even though we're mainly going to be talking about the coronavirus, you will also get tips and ideas that are applicable to all the conversations that we have with our children. So firstly, maybe why is it important to have conversations with our children? Well, when we talk with our children, we help our children understand what is going on around them. If we have conversations with our children, we have an opportunity to explain things to them. We have an opportunity to hear and find out if they're having any particular concerns or worries or questions about what's going on around them. So when we have these sorts of conversations with our children, it can help them cope better with what's going on around them. It can help them be better prepared because they're not handling it on their own. We've actually given them some information that they can work with. And it can help our children make sense of how they're feeling and what they're seeing and hearing around them. So having conversations about important things such as the current coronavirus situation is a really important thing to do. And what I want to be doing with you for the little bit of time that we have together is give you some tips, some ideas about how we can make these conversations as good as possible, as helpful as possible for our children. I'll start off with some maybe what could be considered basic communication tips, but even though they're basic, they're really, really important, and it's very easy for us to forget the things that we do know, but with the busyness of life we tend to have just forgotten about. So I'm sure this is probably not going to be anything new for you, this little section. I hope it serves as a reminder to you so that you will be reminded of what you want to be doing. So the first thing is to spend time doing things with your child. That sounds very obvious, but in the busyness of life, in making sure that they get all their schoolwork done, in making sure that they're got their teeth brushed and they're dressed and all the other things that we have to do in our day, a lot of us have to work from home as well. It's actually very easy to miss out on finding that quality time that we're spending with our children. So do try and make some time which is just fun, happy, nice time where you're just doing things together, because that's when conversations are going to be able to occur. Limit having the television on in the background when you want to be discussing important things with your child. So if your child comes to you with something that they want to discuss with you, or they have a question for you, then switch off the TV or the iPod or your phone, whatever it might be, so that you can give them your full attention. So you might want to switch it off, put on silent, put it in another room. Apart from the fact that you'll then be able to concentrate on what your child is saying, it really, doing something like that really sends your child a big message that you are more important to me than whatever is going to be on my phone, for example, or on the TV. So it's a really nice message for your child. It tells them that you really are interested in what they have to say. So if you can, That's a really great tip for you. What else? So with regards to the coronavirus, there's a lot of information going around, and it's very easy for us as adults to be confused. Every day it seems to be a different piece of information that we hear. The federal government says one thing, the Victorian government says something else. So it's not surprising that we're confused, and our children too are likely to be feeling confused as well. So if we can clarify some of that confusion for them by listening to what they have to say, by answering any questions that they might have, that will go a long way to helping them feel more secure and less confused. So some ideas of how you might be able to reduce your child's worry or confusion. Well, firstly, try to limit your family's exposure to the news. There's a lot of news out there, and we could be bombarded by it 24/7. You don't want the TV on all the time. It's not healthy. You don't want to be, it's not healthy even for ourselves, let alone our children. So you want to be getting accurate advice, so you might want to just look at a couple of sources where you get your information from. Make sure it's reliable information so that you are then well informed, and then you can then give your children relevant, accurate information as well. Now, a good time to talk with your child about the coronavirus or about anything else which is of importance is when your child comes to you. So whenever your child comes to you with a question or a concern or a comment about something, if you can stop what you're doing and give your child your full attention, that will be absolutely fantastic, because that's when they're ripest for connection. That's when they're wanting the information, and so the communication is going to flow much better than if you do it at another time. So when they come to you, if you can, stop what you're doing, give them your full attention, and do some really good listening to what they have to say. Of course, there are going to be times when you can't give them your full attention when they are wanting it. That's okay, that's understandable. When you can, give it. When you can't, rather than just sort of brushing them off, actually telling them that you do want to hear what they have to say, you do want to answer their question, and you want to do it properly, and so you can't do it now, but tell them when you will be able to. So it might look like something like, when I've put your baby brother to sleep, I'll find you and then you can tell me all about it, or then I'll be able to answer your question. Okay, so let's talk now about some tips that we can use when actually having a conversation with our child. The first one is give space for your child to talk and let your child lead the conversation. So by that I mean, let's try not to ask too many questions. When we ask questions, we end up changing what our child might have told us. We're directing the conversation. The child ends up not necessarily telling us what they originally wanted to tell us, but they're just answering all our questions. So that's an example of the conversation being led by us as the parents, as opposed to really doing some good listening and hearing what they want to say to us. So try not to ask too many questions. Give lots of pauses. So by that I mean time where we're not talking. They may not be talking either. That's okay. It gives them time to think about what it is that they want to say. So we can look at our child and show them that we're really interested, and just be patient and wait. Let them figure out what it is that they want to say, rather than filling up all that space with talk ourselves. All right? I always like to say we've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. We need to listen twice as much as what we talk. So try and talk less so your child has an opportunity to talk more. And when your child says something, rather than assuming that you understood what they are saying actually confirm with them that you're on the right track. Oh, so you think whatever it might be. So are you saying whatever it might be? Just to make sure that you're on the right track. And if you're not, your child will correct you and say no, and then they'll tell you. And then again, make sure you've understood correctly. And that goes with when they ask you a question as well. So if they ask you a question, don't assume that you know what it is that they're talking about, because they might say something and we think something, and then we answer a question which is actually not the question that they are actually asking at all. For example, if they say, oh, when will things go back to normal, rather than just assuming that they're talking about when they can go back to school, for example, they could be thinking about when they can get back and talk to their friends, or they might be thinking when you're going to go back to work, or who knows what they're thinking. So ask for more information. Oh, you seem worried about something? Or, oh, are you talking, what do you mean by that? Or can you give me an example? Something like that. So you make sure that you're answering the question that they're actually asking you. What else? So take the time to really listen to what your child is trying to say to you, so then you can best address their worries or concerns. Try not to take over the conversation. Leave them have time to think. Now, I said before that the best time to have a conversation is when your child comes to you. That's good, but sometimes our children may not come to us, or we're a bit worried about something ourselves. Their behaviour might have changed a little bit, or you might have heard them say something in play or to a sibling which you're a little bit concerned about. So if you think that it's necessary for you to have a conversation with them, that's obviously okay. So it's good. It's a good thing to do, to make sure that they're well informed and to check in with them to make sure that they're travelling okay. So, sometimes they might start the conversation, sometimes you might start the conversation. It might be both of those, and they're both absolutely okay. So if you do think that you want to have a conversation with your child, of course, go ahead and do so. That will be a great thing to do. Think about timing, as I was saying before. Okay, so time it at a time when you're feeling good within yourself and you feel, you feel that you can handle whatever they might throw at you. So, and time it at a time when they're feeling that they might be willing to talk to you. So not when they're in the middle of a game or something like that. And you might start the conversation by just commenting on some behaviour you noticed of theirs, or I noticed the other day that you whatever. Is there something you want to talk about? Do you have any questions? You might do it like that. Or you might say something like, oh, you've probably noticed that, Mum and Dad are checking our phones a lot more recently. Do you know what we're doing? You might say something like that. Or, have you noticed that we are home now and working from home now? Do you know why we're working from home now? So that's how you might sort of open up the conversation with your child. When your child asks any questions, try to answer as honestly as you can. Obviously give age-appropriate information, but you do want to be honest. You don't want to, make promises that you can't keep. If they're asking about their grandparents, it's probably not a wise idea to say, oh, they won't catch it. Of course they won't catch it. Oh, they'll be fine. Because you can't guarantee that. So don't make promises you can't keep. And try not to dismiss how they're feeling as well. If we say things like, oh, you've got nothing to worry about, that can make a child feel like dismissed and like we don't really understand them, because obviously they are worried about something. And then we say, don't worry, it doesn't make them worry less. It makes them probably feel more anxious, probably makes them feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't be feeling this way. So try not to dismiss how your child is feeling, okay? Stick to the facts, obviously, but you don't have to talk about graphic details. You don't want to make things even worse than they might already be. If they do have some misinformation or misconceptions about anything, clarify it with them. Depending on their age, you might check out resources or sources of information together that might be appropriate. So I've given you a few tips and I hope that they've been useful for you. This is not one conversation that you have and then it's done and dusted. You never have to discuss it ever again. It doesn't work like that. You want to keep the conversation open with your child, or keep the discussion open. Let them know that they can come to you and ask you a question at any time. And of course, if you have good conversational skills and really listen well to your child, then they will feel safe to come to you when they do have a question or they're not sure about something. So that will be fantastic. If you yourself are feeling worried or concerned or overwhelmed about everything, that's okay. That's understandable. Seek help. It's a massive sign of strength when you can recognise, or when we can recognise, that we're not coping too well and that we would benefit from some help. So take it. Health Ability, the community health organisation that I work for, we've got counsellors, we've got child psychologists, we've got occupational therapists, we've got lots and lots of people that can help you. So you might want to give us a call. Remember the 24/7 hotlines that are available as well. We've got Beyond Blue. What else we've got? We've got Kids Helpline for the kids. We've got Lifeline as well. So there are places, Relationships Australia. There's lots of organisations that are there to help. So do reach out. Thank you very much for listening to this short video. I hope you found it interesting. It may have reminded you of something or possibly taught you something new. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.